With me now is Jenny Tang. She's a fellow at the Stimson Policy Research Center. She's also managing editor and producer of 38 North, a web journal providing policy and technical analysis on the DPRK. Jenny, welcome to the show. We just heard from the two leaders expressing willingness to meet up again. Why now?
Well, I think we have a process now where we've never seen this before, sort of uncharted territory, where you actually have the two leaders as negotiators and not just sort of blessing a deal that's already been worked out. And so I think we are on a path now where Kim Jong-un is North Korea's negotiator on the nuclear issues, where Trump has to be that role for the United States. The question is, what is the U.S. willing to do above and beyond what they've, what didn't come out of Hanoi? And clearly what the North Koreans are looking for is, some level of sanctions relief in order to get to the broader issues and to the deeper security issues.
It looks like it is a chicken-egg problem now because one side says sanctions relief first, the other side said denuke first. What are the prospects of a possible solution, a path to a solution?
Well, I don't think either side is necessarily saying it has to be first. I think they have to decide on what the actual exchange is. I think going into Hanoi, there was a sense that there would be movement on sanctions in terms of giving exemptions to the South Koreans to move forward on inter-Korean economic projects. But what we learned from the North Koreans was that wasn't enough. They've already negotiated that with the South Koreans. They expect that from the South Koreans. The U.S. is going to have to come to the table with something that only the U.S. can bring to the table. And it's unclear what the U.S. is willing to do. And that's what we need to see moving forward. And I think once they agree to that exchange, then the timing, will sort of fall into place after that.
Regarding a third potential summit, there are some critics that says from the first two summits cannot be more substance-free. How do you look at the legacy, if you will, of the previous two summits?
Yeah, I think, if you look at it from a traditional diplomacy aspect or point of view, you have sort of come away now without any substantive agreements. But again, this is not what we're doing now. And so now you have the two leaders are actually negotiating at the summits. And so you're not necessarily going to come away with something fully done. Whether or not this is the right way to do it, it's sort of a moot point at this point because we're already down that path. But I think, we are at a point where you need the next summit to see how much room there is for negotiation, to see what both sides are willing to do. And if that fails, obviously, then you're sort of running out of time in the Trump administration and certainly running out of credibility that this process is the right process moving forward.
How do you think domestic politics from each side will play into this? Because on the DPRK side, there was a parliamentary election or selection. Over here in the U.S., it is the election year.
Well, certainly in the U.S., Trump has limited time. Whether or not he wins a second term is hard to say. Of course, anything is possible, but certainly there will be more pressure in trying to evaluate his legacy as a president, especially for his party moving forward. On the North Korean side, there's pressure also because, there is sort of rising expectations on the economic performance. And so at some point, Kim Jong-un does have to bring something to the table to show that his efforts in diplomacy have created something that's good for the people and that can move that economic lever forward. And so I think there's enough pressure on both sides to keep trying this. And then the question really, again, is, how far are they willing to go?
Finally, quickly, what would be your prediction for the results of a possible third summit?
I think you're really only going to see a third summit if there is indications that the U.S. is willing to talk about sort of sectoral sanctions, for instance, things that North Korea did ask for at the Hanoi summit. Maybe not all of it. Of course, it was a very big ask that they made. But if they could choose some priority sectors and if there's some messaging that there's room on that angle, then I think another summit is possible.
Thank you so much, Jenny Tang, for your insight.
Okay.
Thanks.